Hey everyone, welcome back to Almost Daily Live Chess. I'm doing this recording a bit later than usual. I did go to a tournament today, but not a chess tournament. I'm an old school player for an old game called Smash Brothers Melee. So I'm pretty competitive at that. I ended up getting second. It was a pretty good prize, pretty good event. So here we go. I told you guys I would play the Sicilian, and here it is. We're going into a closed system, and I'm playing a stronger player with black, so this is not going to be an easy game. I did get a bigger increment than last time, which I did manage to win. I kind of lucked out. So here I think d6 is good. e6 has been played, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so I'll do that. I think d6 is the main line, but I can't be 100% positive. I forget. I know it's a good way to play, leaving the option to play g6 at some point with the strategy of controlling the dark square. So here comes d4, and we're going to take, as is often required in the Sicilian, taking towards the center, having a symmetrical pawn structure, similar development. He has some more space. Alright, so I know a bunch of different moves, I just don't know what one I should play first. I think this is the one. So if he advances the pawn, I take. Okay, so seeing that, I think is e5 possible. If takes, I take, and then that's a bad bishop. And that's a hard to, well, let's say it's a pawn that he has to babysit. Not being able to immediately push his f-pawn. Not having d3. Just something to keep in mind about the position. I always have queen here, actually, so queen a5 in some lines if he pushes the pawn too prematurely. g6 would be quite sharp. Playing the dragon against this system here. I guess similarly, this pawn could be weak for me as well, in the event of taking and taking. If I were to play e5. I could passively play with e6. I think that's the move a lot of people I know would play. I think I'm going to do this. I'm going to play aggressively. Go into something kind of sharp. Still play for the win, even though my opponent's higher rated. I haven't lost a game since I started doing this daily chess, so I don't know on Lee Chess where I stand rating-wise. And in this classical time control, I know on ChessCube, originally it was much easier to get your rating up to like 1900. There was some inflation, but I think now that ChessCube is really qubit based, you know, it's actually difficult to play unless you can really manage to save up some qubits. So ever since the competition got higher, I feel like the inflation went away. But I'm doing most of my chess on leechess.org now, just because of the qubits essentially, and I like Lee Chess. Alright, g6. Bishop g7, I mean, which is why I played g6. So when this knight does move, the d-pawn could get weak for my opponent. Could play the French-looking move queen d6, b6, as I often play in the French defense. I think I did that in an earlier video. So to fight for the center, maybe my bishop's good here, and if he pushes the pawn, we're not coming back to h5. Come back to either d7 or back to the home. Probably not. Probably d7. Taking the knight, I'm not really considering it. Okay, so he's moved that piece twice. So queen b6, I don't know. He can always play d5. and bishop e3. Alright. So is castling too dangerous here? Not really. I'm pretty well developed, and I do have a strong fortress here with my fianchetto. I'm going to see if he plays his bishop anywhere. If he doesn't play his bishop to e3, then I might put my queen here with pressure. Okay, so he's forcing my hand here, forcing me to show him where that bishop is going to be. So once again, I was hesitant to put the bishop there because my knight has less squares. But you know, if my opponent prompts some kind of a, or if my opponent plays in a way where my knight needs to move, e8 is okay for the time being, uncovering some pressure. Okay, rook there. That also makes me kind of think about playing e5, but I guess it doesn't work so much with this bishop here. Is queen a5 worth looking at? So, it's hard to decide what to do with my pieces. I can't really commit to kingside or queenside play. Maybe queenside play is the more natural option. My opponent has a center, so I can't be very ambitious right now. Alright, we're going to play like this then. Get into a hedgehog style structure. Maybe bishop e8 and f4? I mean f5? I don't know. I have to be careful about pushing my f-pawn though. Leaving a backwards e-pawn. Alright, that's okay. He's going there. I'm just going to do this. It's a useful move to make no matter what. If he pushes, I just take. Okay, so he's doing that. Do I take with the queen or the bishop? Naturally, I want to take with the less valuable piece so that it doesn't get attacked. If I take with the queen, though, it's getting the queen off the back row for free. Adding additional pressure here, which is relevant. And if he pushes the pawn, I can take. And I won't have to waste a move with my bishop. I'm actually doing this just for tactical reasons. I know it's slightly counterintuitive, or perhaps it might seem paradoxical. But I think it's pretty sensible. If he pushes, I play my knight here. Okay, so we're going into this. See, another reason I was happy to do it like that is because... I was going to say because my queen's not opposite his queen, but that's not relevant either. Unless I take with the knight. Well, if I take with the knight, then he takes, so that's no good. I think I'm going to win that pawn. Maybe not. I got to play defensively to save my bishop. But this knight's going to move soon. I think I've figured out where I need to play. I'm going to get a rook to the d file opposite his queen. Other rook might find a home on the c file. We'll see what comes of this position. He might play queen b3, forcing me to figure what I'm going to do with this pawn. Maybe I could push it to b6 and get my bishop back. You see all these nebulous sort of long-term plans that I'm talking about with black? I mean, when you're playing these hypermodern systems, you know, where you're not occupying the center, your number one concern is how to get your pieces active, and it's not immediately obvious when you have a space disadvantage. So that's pretty much been my whole focus, just how to mobilize my forces. And I've been solid. I've stayed solid in this game. It looks like I might end up with a pawn lead, but I can't be sure for the moment. Right now, he has no bishop check, so he can't uncover another defender with tempo. the knight, he's going to have to remove a defender. Okay, so he's going to have to remove a defender to push the pawn. Anyways, so I could play for the advantage with the bishop pair. So I don't want to keep this, position where my knight's pinned to my bishop. And if he wants to take, great. Maybe I won't win this pawn right away, but I'll have the bishop pair, and not just any old bishop pair either. We're talking 2 bishops with massive control. Once I figure out what I'm going to do about this pawn, I suppose. But if this knight moves, I do have queen moves now, adding more pressure and possibly looking at g2. Alright, I want to hold on to this bishop pair if I can. I'm not seeing a convenient way to do so. So I can just develop my rook, give up that bishop. And get activity on the c file. I don't want to waste much time now. I could play queen here with pressure here, forcing him to want to take. Ooh, I could pin the knight. Why didn't I think of that sooner? Oh no, because he's on my queen. Alright, let's get this rook here. Let him take if he wishes. He'll have spent some tempos or tempi, if you want to be correct. Tempi is the plural for tempo. Tempos is not a word, I don't think. So I've got an impressive position, I'd say, with black out of the opening. Sometimes in these dragons, black ends up with some sort of terribly imbalanced position, where there's like maybe bad pawn structure, but an attack on the king or something along those lines. But I didn't have to sacrifice much to get what I consider to be either a slight advantage or equal. I guess I can't claim an advantage until I figure out how to deal with this pawn in my face. But I've got a bishop against a knight. Pressure on his center. Pushing the pawn immediately looks dangerous because my queen comes into play with check. Simply leaving another weak pawn. So he's playing the queen there. Now if queen here, he has knight there. Maybe the way to deal with this pawn isn't to try to capture it, but to play f5. If en passant, I'm going to get some more play. Tough choices. I could also play my queen here. Decisions. With the clock ticking. My other rook isn't doing much here, except for defensive tasks. Alright, I'm doing it. I'm allowing some tricks, I think, from my opponent. If rook here, bishop takes, knight moves, then my queen can just defend the rook still, not allowing him to win a pawn. So I'll have consolidated a little bit, probably given up a little something, but having a position where I'm up a pawn, it's a pretty good pawn to have too, being towards the center, connected to the rest of my pawn island. My bishop will need to get this pawn out of the way to exert some pressure on the queen's side. And that pressure will be pretty immediate considering the weak b pawn. I suppose I have one as well, so that's not as relevant. And if knight here, I didn't even look at that. It's not too dangerous though, I don't think, because then I play my queen to b5, hitting the knight, hitting the pawn. So we're going into this. Alright, let's see if I'm wrong. Oh yeah, and if knight moves, I just take the rook. Wow. Look at this, you guys. If that knight moves here, I'm going to win the game with queen takes rook, sacrifice, rook takes, and my bishop's looking at h2. That's why I was so quick to play this move. The instant I saw that tactic, it's like, okay, my decision's made for me. So, really, I think I'm winning that pawn, and my opponent doesn't have compensation. Except for time clock compensation. So if I take... I can get the queens off, up a pawn. Oh, look at this. Look at this, you guys. Queen takes. If rook takes, he probably will see that he can't take with his rook, because then I play this. Oh my goodness, he didn't see it. Look at that, skewering two rooks together. That's just brutal. Yeah, so he has to admit that he gave up an exchange. So then I pin the knight, I think, and it's lights out, really. He gets trapped. Pin the knight, advance my king in these pawns. Or maybe a better strategy might be to get to the 7th rank with my rooks. So it's either rook d8 or rook c8. So I can't act like this game is won already. There's still some technique. I'm up a pawn, I'm up an exchange. There's no mate on the board. But I think this pretty much ties him down. So yeah, my plan is not to double, but to get on the 7th rank, which he recognizes. I do have the tactic rook to d8, but does that really help me? After rook d8, if knight takes, I take his rook. So maybe I double here now. Or how about this? No need to rush. So the knight's more pinned than before, in fact. The rook's not defended. So I can push the pawn, just threatening to push the pawn. The b pawn. So you notice he defended, but, you know, I'm still going to have a pawn there when I recapture if I play a5. I don't get my rook to the 7th immediately. I guess we can just continue to play like this. He has no threats. I wouldn't be surprised to see him resign soon. Okay, so a few options here. I can push the pawn. That's not safe. If he attacks the pawn, he gets some play. So I'll do this. Alright, I'm playing a little slow here, but I'm just looking out for knight checks and all that good stuff. I can go here. So I will get a rook on the 7th finally. My 7th rank, his 2nd rank. So he's going into the check. I mean, what else? I have nothing to fear with King G7. And if he checks me again with his knight, well then his knight's severely out of play. And I'll win the tempo after he plays there and I attack his knight. So I have been careful to make sure my rooks aren't liable to getting forked. I do have to be careful with the rooks on that same color. But, you know, if he doesn't have anything concrete, then he doesn't have anything. It's that simple. So I play check and then rook to the 7th. Does he have a threat? I don't see it. So I'm going to win this pawn. Inevitably so, I think. And then I'm just going to get my other rook there and it's lights out. My b-pawn is unstoppable. So now, in the event of any more knight checks, I'm going to move my king to a square where I'm going to move my king to a square where it will not get checked again. And I put my rook here simply because my knight can't, the opponent's knight can't attack it. Alright, so I'm going to go to a square where I cannot be checked again, moving my king towards the center. And sure, he'll be able to defend the pawn for a turn, but look, I can go here. But let me look at that real quick, because after I go there, you know, whenever they're one diagonal apart, you know, the knight can deliver another check. Oh, I forgot to turn these little dots off. Sorry, guys. Alright. I could just take the pawn and try to win like that, but no, that would be dumb. Alright, I'm going here. If he hits my rook, I mean, if he puts me in check, I have a number of options. I'll probably move towards the knight and attack it. Well, probably not in this case, actually. If I just go up, his next check will be his last. Just getting my king more active for me. He can't come to c5 now, so he goes here. My king gets even more active, and the checks are through. Once again, my b-pawn will be unstoppable. He'll have to find a way to sacrifice the knight for it or something. And then a rook and a king and 4 pawns will crush the poor king with the 3 pawns here. Okay, so he has no more checks. I can just sacrifice the h-pawn. Why the heck not? And where will my rook disrupt his knight the most? Well, I'm going to move it to a light square where my opponent can't attack it immediately, and, you know, it's on a different color square from my king. He's going to take these pawns. Well, so be it. I'm going to get a queen. So, I did just accept the sponsorship deal with YouTube, so that will motivate me to make a lot more and a lot better content for my YouTube chess channel and for ascended.us, my website, which kind of links together all of my content and some of the people in my network, such as my girlfriend. She does some artwork on there. And a couple friends of mine as well. So I can uncover an attack on the knight. If that, then this. If he just goes here attacking my rook, I push the pawn. And I get a queen. Good game. So that was a successful fight with the 1800 plus player. I'm well on my way to reaching 2000. Thanks for watching, guys.